3 bone-chilling true horror stories you must hear before going alone in the woods. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows in the dense, twisted trees of hawthorn woods. Whispers surrounded the area, where legends of the lost and the damned lingered. Locals spoke in hushed tones about strange occurrences, flickering lights that danced between the branches, the chilling cries that echoed when the wind picked up, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. But those were just stories until they weren't. The truth had a way of making its presence known when least expected. Just a few days ago, a group of hikers ventured into the heart of the forest. They laughed, unafraid of the echoes that followed them, eyes bright with adventure. But hours later, they staggered back, pale and shaken. They claimed to have seen a figure, a shadow that watched from the depths of the trees, its empty eyes glinting like daggers in the fading light. They described it differently. Some said it wore a tattered coat, others insisted it was as naked as the day it was born, skin grisly and twisted. One thing was clear, though: it was out there, somewhere, and it had its gaze fixed on them. As night fell, the woods transformed. The moon hung high, its silver light casting ghostly shapes. Even the bravest wanderers felt the prickle of fear crawl up their spines. You could hear the soft rustling of leaves, the snap of twigs, and even the occasional rush of wind, but then silence. It was the kind of silence that could almost choke you. Rumors spread that spirits of the lost roamed here, looking for companions or perhaps something darker, something that craved fear. Every story had a kernel of truth, and this one was no different. As the fire crackled in the distance, tales of a dreadful child emerged. A little girl, lost in the woods decades ago, who now roamed the same trails, luring the unwary with her sweet, innocent laughter that twisted into an unbearable scream as darkness fell. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But just as quickly as that hope flickered, dread crept back in. Suddenly, one of the hikers screamed. Shadowy figures emerged, weaving through the trees, their forms barely defined yet menacing. Panic gripped them. Uncertainty mingled with adrenaline as they shot into the trees, branches snapping underfoot. The laughter of the little girl echoed serenely, incongruous against their panic. Was it a mirage, an alluring nightmare, or an invitation to oblivion? The heart raced as branches clawed at skin, a path now fraught with unspeakable danger. What exactly awaited them in the dark? All we knew was that something awaited their return in the depths of the woods. The chaos was unbearable. They ran, each pounding heart synchronized to a rhythm fueled by terror. The laughter grew louder, chillingly sweet, echoing through the trees like a sick joke. Every breath felt heavy, every shadow stretched unnaturally long, as if the woods themselves were reaching out to claim them. Go left! Shouted Mia, a sudden spark of instinct flaring in her eyes. The others hesitated, but she pushed on, darting toward a narrow path that twisted deeper into the darkness. The group followed, driven by primal fear, the haunting giggles seeming to press closer with every step. Branches whipped against their faces, scraping skin, clawing at their jackets. The damp earth squelched beneath their feet, but they couldn't stop, couldn't look back. All that mattered was escape. Yet the forest felt different now, alive and breathing, as if it was guiding their steps, urging them towards something hidden. As they rounded a bend, the trees opened slightly, revealing a small clearing lit by the eerie glow of moonlight. Danny, who had been leading the way, stumbled to a halt. "What is that?" he whispered, voice shaky as he pointed toward the center of the clearing. In the chilling light stood a faded figure, its proportions unnaturally twisted and contorted. It wore what seemed like remnants of a child's dress, tattered and filthy. Its hair hung in strings, matted and wild, and its eyes, those empty voids, bore into them, familiar yet grotesque. As the hikers stepped backward, the figure tilted its head, a faint smile appearing as if recognizing their fear. "Mia, what do we do?" Alex's voice cracked, the bravest among them now trembling. "Run." But Mia's voice was lost to the air as the figure raised a bony finger, beckoning them closer, its smile widening into something far from innocent. Whatever it wasn't just a lost child. Suddenly, the laughter changed, warped and sinister, turning from joyous to a cacophony of despairing screeches. The sound chased the hikers like a beast, and they stumbled backward into the darkness, nearly tripping over roots that seemed to claw for their feet. They fled, but the forest shifted around them, confusing their sense of direction. Every turn felt wrong, every path led deeper into the woods. The laughter now echoed with taunts, twisting into voices that whispered secrets they didn't want to hear. "You want to leave, you want to escape." Mia's chest tightened. Each breath became more laborious, the weight of dread sinking heavier within her. The woods closed in, trapping them in an embrace that felt suffocating. Then, without warning, everything fell silent. The air thick with anticipation, they huddled together, hearts thundering. Then there it was again, a sound creeping from behind them, a soft, delicate giggle that echoed an impossible distance. It sent chills up their spines. "Is it getting closer?" Danny's voice quivered. Before anyone could answer, the dark swallowed them again, and a sudden rush of icy wind knocked them to their knees. The laughter morphed into cries of anguish and regret, wrapping around them like an icy blanket. They scrambled again, but the path felt unstable, shifting beneath their feet. Then, out of the shadows, another presence emerged, who or what awaited their return in the depths of the woods. What if escaping wasn't an option? As the figure loomed closer, its intentions remained shrouded in terror. What were they about to face next? The darkness pulsed around them, thick and alive, as the new figure stepped from the shadows. It was shrouded in shadow, an indistinct body made of swirling black mist, cloaked as if the night itself had birthed it. No eyes glimmered, no features could be discerned, yet an overwhelming sense of dread emanated from it, curling like smoke around their ankles. Mia felt her heart race, the pounding thrumming in her ears. This wasn't just fear, it was something primal, something deeply rooted, as the air around them chilled to a biting frost. The laughter transformed into frenzied howls that reverberated through the clearing, as if mocking their inability to flee. "Stay close," she whispered fiercely, gripping Danny's arm. His eyes were wide and glistening, full of terror. They needed to be a unit. If they were to survive, they had to stick together. Then the presence lifted an arm, cloaked in shadow but insistent, beckoning them forward. "Come play with us," a whisper threaded through the air. The voice dripped with sweetness but carried an edge that grated against their sanity. "Who are you?" Alex shouted, his voice cracking against the cold. A childhood instinct surged. It was as if the darkness was reaching into the deepest recesses of their minds, surfacing memories long buried. The figure swirled, cackling as it pointed to the clearing beyond. "We're the ones who don't leave. The ones who'll never be alone again. Come." The words echoed, folding back on themselves like a loop that ignored the boundaries of sound. "We can't go. We have to leave." Danny choked, the desperation in his voice palpable. "Run!" Mia screamed again, this time a frenzied order. Without thinking, she darted toward the path they'd come from, dragging Danny and Alex behind her. But the forest writhed, branches snapping towards them as if designed to ensnare. The trees bent, groaned, as though protesting their escape. They ran blindly, gasping for air, the laughter morphing into a shrill symphony of despair. Cold fingers seemed to graze their backs, pulling at their shirts, clutching their hair. The sense of being hunted spurred them deeper into the gloom, each footfall a battle against the overpowering urge to freeze, to give in to the whims of whatever hunted them. "Over there!" Mia shouted, spotting a faint, flickering light in the distance, an unnatural glow that bobbed like a far-off lantern. Hope ignited, they had to reach it. But as they surged forward, the glow flickered and vanished, like a mirage teasing them in their darkest hour. The laughter crescendoed behind them, rising to a piercing shriek, the sound of lost souls crying for vengeance. The weight of unworthiness pressed down, an invisible hand squeezing their throats, making every breath a challenge. Are we even going the right way? Danny's voice cracked. Just trust me. Mia shot back, but the doubt began to eat at her resolve. It felt like reality itself was fracturing, each snap echoing the group's dwindling hopes. And then, just as they rounded another corner, ahead lay a clearing aglow, firelight dancing. But the flickering shadows revealed a gathering of figures, perched like gargoyles atop a stone altar. Worn faces, hollow eyes, twisted smiles, all emanating that same call join us. Panic clawed at Mia's insides. What do we do? She gasped, eyes darting, as she stumbled backward into a still and foreboding shadow. And then silence, once again, descended like a shroud over the woods. But it wasn't just silence. An absence of noise accompanied it, an absence of life, like a void. What awaited them in that clearing? Were they about to find a way out or be swallowed whole by whatever thrived in the dark? Mia's heart was a drum pounding in her ears, filling her head with a chaotic rhythm of fear. She felt the eyes of the figures in the clearing bore down on her, hollow and hungry. The darkness dripped around them, every shadow a creature waiting in the depths. Run around the altar. She blurted, unwilling to think about what might happen if they stood still. She pulled Danny by the hand, yanking him away from the looming horror. Alex didn't need urging, he launched himself after them, skirting the gathering of figures, who turned their heads in unison, grinning like they were invited guests at a macabre soiree. Mia's breath was a harsh rasp as they sprinted, grass and twigs slashing at their legs. The shadows flickered, currents of breath swirling behind them, visceral and inescapable. The howls had morphed again, this time into whispered calls, teasing, "Come back, come join, don't listen. Just don't listen." Mia shouted, unsure whom she was convincing, herself or her friends. But the chilling laughter echoed, a taunt they couldn't escape. Each step forward felt heavier, the ground clinging to their shoes like quicksand, pulling them back into the darkness. Desperation surged through Mia. Over that ridge. She gasped, pointing toward a steep slope leading up the forest. They stumbled toward it, fingers brushing against the damp earth, clawing for purchase. Just as they crested the ridge, a low growl vibrated through the air, reverberating deep within their chests. She turned back, eyes wide, and saw the figures swarming in pursuit, spilling from the clearing like a flood of smoke and malice. "Run!" Mia urged, fear igniting her voice. The ridge flattened out into a small, overgrown path, but it wound like a snake through the trees, twisting, turning, until it vanished into an abyss of shadow. "Where does this lead?" Danny panted, panic flooding his voice. "Anywhere but here." Mia snapped, urgency forcing her forward, dragging her friends along. As they plunged into the twisted path, the air grew colder, each breath a pluming fog before them. The laughter faded but morphed into dissonant whispers that clawed at their sanity, wrapping around their minds like chains. "We're not going to make it, are we?" Alex's voice was breathless, tinged with a despair Mia didn't want to acknowledge. "Keep going." She kept pushing, though doubt sank into her stomach like lead. What was pursuing them? Was it even something they could escape? They dodged branches, their skin scratching with every scraping limb, their feet stumbling over unseen roots. Suddenly, Mia skidded to a halt. Ahead, the path opened into another small clearing, lit by a flickering glow that felt different, more real. "Look," she cried, her heart racing anew. A way out. But as they rushed forward, the light dimmed as if it sensed their approach, retreating like a shy creature. Shadows danced, and figures emerged again, these different, dressed in tattered clothing, emerging from the remnants of their own lost lives. Mia felt a sickening churn in her stomach. These were the lost, the ones once like her. "Join us," they murmured in a chilling unison. "Mia." A voice broke through her trance. It was Danny, terror-stricken. "What if they're right? What if this place is where we belong?" The question hung in the air like a noose, tightening around her neck. Mia shook her head violently. "No. We're not. Before she could respond further, a rustle snapped from behind, and the twisted shadows amassed, their laughter rising once more. The urgency swelled in her. They were trapped between the beckoning light and the smothering dark, and time was slipping. Run! But they were ensnared in a nightmare. A decision had to be made, and fast. Would they confront the shadows or take their chance with the figures of the lost? One choice could lead them to freedom while the other could seal their fates forever. Mia's mind raced, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The figures behind them surged forward, clawing at the air, their fingers outstretched as if eager to snatch them into the void. She couldn't let herself freeze, couldn't afford to lose this precious moment of mobility. Choose now. She yelled at her friends. We fight or we run. But we can't stay here. The flickering light seemed to pulse, taunting them with false promises of safety. A part of her screamed to turn back and join the lost, to blend into the fabric of the shadows. But she pressed against that temptation, knowing it was a lie designed to trap them. Let us stick together. Alex shouted, his voice shaking, thick with fear. If we're going to choose, we need to choose as a team. The shadows coiled tighter, their whispering voices creating a cacophony that engulfed them. The air thickened with foreboding, saturating every breath with dread. Stay close, don't look back. Mia commanded. She grabbed Danny's hand, while Alex mirrored her move, fear etched across his face. They stumbled back, feet slipping over roots and leaves, as they chose to flee into the darkness. Are you sure? Danny pleaded, glancing back. They might have answers. No answers. Just death. Mia barked, pushing them forward. Each step felt like a crucial heartbeat in their race against obliteration. The path twisted and turned, branches clawing at them as they fled the encroaching figures. Mia gazed back just long enough to see the mass break apart, some of the disfigured faces morphing into grotesque smiles as the shadows followed, undeterred. Where are we going? Alex gasped, breath coming in ragged bursts. I don't know. Just away. Mia shouted, desperation clawing at her tone. The chilling laughter echoed through the trees, a cacophony of madness, a reminder of the terror trailing at their heels. Then, suddenly, the path widened into an abandoned clearing. An old wooden cabin stood crookedly, engulfed by creeping vines and shadows. Its door creaked open, revealing darkness that promised safety or doom. Are we safe in there? Danny's voice was barely a whisper, fear pooling in his wide eyes. Mia hesitated. This place felt eerie, the air was devoid of the chaotic whispers outside, but she could still sense the lurking danger. We have to check. Together, they edged toward the cabin, the door swinging open with an unsettling groan. As they stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. Dust motes danced in the faint light filtering through grimy windows, revealing a disheveled interior. Faded photographs hung at odd angles, remnants of a life long forgotten. They stayed close together, their eyes darting from each corner to the next, wary of lurking spirits waiting for their chance. Suddenly, a creak echoed from above, a sound that sent chills racing down Mia's spine. Did you hear that? Alex swallowed hard. It's just the wind, let us keep moving, Mia urged, forcing her feet to take the lead. She wouldn't let terror overtake her now. As they crept further inside, Mia's breath caught in her throat. The cabin was more than a shelter, it felt like a maze of memories, each echoing footstep filled with whispers of the past. Glints of silver caught her eye, tools, strange artifacts, cluttered on a delicate oak table. Mia reached for a small lantern, filling the room with dim light. She needed to know what happened here. Her fingers brushed a photograph, and her stomach twisted. It was them. Look! She gasped, holding it high. The faces smiled back, blissfully ignorant just like them, once. Where are we? Danny whispered, the fear palpable in his voice, and then the front door slammed shut, the sound echoing like a death knell through the wooden bones of the cabin. A low hum buzzed in the air, coiling around them like a serpent ready to strike. Mia! Alex's voice trembled, eyes wide. What have we done? In that moment, the shadows outside took a solid form, pressing against the walls, as the reality of their choices began to close in, severing their ties to the outside world, and just beyond the cabin's walls, the voices of the lost beckoned again, a melody of despair that twisted the very fabric of Mia's resolve. Stay close, she shouted, panic surging through her. With the door barred and shadows creeping nearer, Mia realized that perhaps the cabin wasn't an escape at all. What if it was a trap? The air thickened, oppressive and heavy, as she fought back the sinking despair. They had to decide: face the horrors outside or confront whatever darkness awaited them inside. What lay in the heart of the cabin, and would they have the strength to uncover it? The room pulsed with an energy that felt electric, a storm of fear radiating from Mia and her friends. She grasped the lantern tighter, its flickering light casting long shadows that danced mockingly on the walls. Each moment in the cabin felt like a countdown, the shadows outside circling with an insatiable hunger. Maybe we can find something that can help us, she stammered, though deep down, every fiber of her being screamed to flee this haunted place. She couldn't shake the dread pooling in her stomach. Something sinister was stitched into the very fabric of this old cabin. Danny peered anxiously out of a grimy window. I don't think they can get in, not yet. But even as he said it, a stuttering thump reverberated through the door, causing them all to jerk with fright. Mia! Alex whispered hoarsely, his eyes fixed on the door. What if they find a way in? We need to barricade it. I'll take care of it, Mia replied, already moving toward the heavy wooden table. She dragged it across the floor with a groan of protest, positioning it against the door. It wasn't perfect, but it was all they could manage in their frantic state. Just as she stepped back, another series of heavy bangs echoed through the cabin. The door rattled on its hinges, and a slow, discordant humming filled the air. It wasn't the wind or a passing storm. It sounded like a chorus, a relentless chant woven with sorrow and anger. Make it stop! Danny cried, clamping his hands over his ears. Please! It's not safe here. We need to leave. Alex's voice cracked, glancing nervously at the windows as if he could see the grotesque faces already closing in on them. Do you really think it's better out there? Mia shot back, a mix of fear and defiance coloring her tone. We have to figure out what this place is first, or we'll just become part of the shadows. A sudden crash from the upstairs transformed anxiety into terror. They froze, heartbeats drumming in their ears. We need to check it out, Mia said, feeling a strange pull toward the source of the noise. Her courage teetered on the edge of madness, but curiosity was greater. Are you crazy? Alex hissed. We can't just go wandering around. Do you have a better idea? She countered, trying to suppress the tremors in her hands. The chanting continued, and the shadows were pressing against the walls like they were alive, eager to shatter their fragile barricade. Let me come with you, Danny said, voice quivering. He looked ready to bolt any second. Okay, Mia nodded, softened by his fear. But we stick together, all right? No matter what. They climbed the creaking staircase, each step a journey deeper into the unknown. The dim light of the lantern struggled to penetrate the thick darkness in the small hallway above. Another thump echoed, this time sounding so close that it reverberated through the floor beneath their feet. Mia and Danny exchanged terrified glances, silently urging each other onward. Shadows flickered at the edges of their vision, and she felt them whispering, taunting, seducing. She shivered. They reached the door at the end of the corridor, its surface marked with deep scars like a tree stripped bare. Mia's pulse raced as she placed her hand on the knob. On 3, she whispered. 1, 2. Before she could finish, the door swung open violently, sending her staggering back against the wall. The insides of the room glimmered like a sinister dream. Mirrors hung at bizarre angles, reflecting fractured versions of reality. In the center, a single table stood, shrouded in heavy cloth, imbued with a sense of weight that felt almost sentient. What lay hidden beneath? Just then, a whisper slithered from the depths of the room. Join us. Mia's heart dropped. What who is there? And as the silence stretched, the shadows surged, illuminating a face in the glass, a hollow, tortured visage that mirrored Mia's own. Run! She yelled, panic overriding her reasoning. With a shared understanding, they fled, stumbling down the hall and back toward the staircase, the chilling laughter of the shadows echoing behind them. The cabin felt alive. Pulsing with the heartbeat of something ancient awakening, what awaited them was far darker than they could ever imagined. Would they be able to escape this encroaching darkness, or would the lure of the past drag them down, never to return? The door at the bottom crashed open. The shadow figures burst in, their eyes glowing like embers against the night, beckoning. Could they find a way to break the cabin's curse? Or were they already locked in its grasp, destined to join the chorus of lost souls? Mia's breath hitched in her throat as she darted back down the stairs, each step thundering like a drum. Danny shouted behind her, but she couldn't hear him over the wild cacophony of pounding hearts and sinister whispers filling the air. The chilling laughter grew louder, a mocking echo that made her skin crawl. Terror surged through her veins. She had to find a way to protect them. They couldn't be trapped here. The cabin was alive, breathing in their fear and growing stronger. But how did they kill what wasn't alive? Keep moving. She gasped, glancing back at the door just as a shadowy figure slipped into the hallway, twisting and flickering like a flame. We won. Make it. Alex's voice was strained as he clutched the railing, eyes wide with dread as the figure advanced, elongating and narrowing, reaching for him. Mia reached out instinctively. Grab my hand. He lunged, and the moment their fingers intertwined, a jolt of electricity coursed between them. It felt like a lifeline. But the shadows surged as if sensing their bond, stretching around them, eager to engulf them in darkness. The lantern flickered, then shone brighter, revealing a cracked mirror hanging on the wall. It pulsed with an unnatural light, and for a split second, Mia thought she saw something, a glimpse of a world beyond the cabin, filled with vibrant colors before the shadows smothered it anew. Look! Danny shouted, pointing at the mirror. What if, with barely a moment to spare, Mia seized the lantern and ran toward it, her heart pounding like a war drum. They had to act, they needed a way out. We can use it. She called back to her friends, but it was too late. The shadows dove in, plunging the hallway into a tortured scream of darkness. As the dark figures twisted, something pulled at Mia's heels, dragging her back into their embrace. No! She cried, wrestling against the invisible chains that sought to bind her. Her vision narrowed, despair clawing at her heart. In the frenzied chaos, Alex tore at her arm, trying to pull her away. Mia! He shouted, desperation lacing his voice. I can't hold on. She gasped, fighting with every ounce of her will, but the shadows surged relentlessly, feeding off her fear, her despair. Then, just as the darkness threatened to swallow her whole, the lantern blazed with an intense light, illuminating the air with a golden hue. Step into the light. A voice other than her own echoed deep, resonant, and threaded with stern authority. Mia squinted, gazing above the flickering shadows where a figure began to materialize. It was the outline of someone, something, the embodiment of the light trapped in the chaos. The air vibrated with its power. Trust, it urged, like a warm whisper. Before she could comprehend what to do, Danny lunged towards the mirror, dragging Alex with him. Just follow me. He yelled, hope bursting through the dread. Fueled by a sliver of courage, Mia broke free from the spectral grip, racing after them. Together they pounded toward the mirror, shadows clawing at their backs. As they approached, time slowed. The figures writhed, desperate to claim them. Now! Alex yelled, and with all their strength, they collided against the glass. The impact was electric, crashing through the threshold as if reality itself ripped apart. For an instant, it felt like flying, like breaking free from chains forged in darkness. But then darkness seeped in once more, and Mia felt the familiar, hollow emptiness of despair creep around them. She clutched the lantern as they fell into an abyss, fear strangling her throat. With a jarring thud, they landed hard on cold earth. Dazed, they glanced around a different forest, the cabin only a fading memory, but the shadows lingered in the periphery, watching, waiting. "We're not safe yet," Danny whispered, trembling. Mia could feel the heaviness in the air, a congested threat of shadows ready to spill out. "What do we do now?" Alex asked, his voice quavering, eyes wide with uncertainty. A rustle in the bushes caught her attention, and a low growl echoed in the distance. It felt like a warning, or perhaps an invitation. Mia swallowed hard, knowing the game had only just begun. "Keep moving," she ordered, steeling herself against the recurrent fear growing in her chest. But deep down, she wondered, how far could they really run from what they could not understand? Did it even want them to leave? As they stepped deeper into the forest, another whisper curled around them. Join us. Could they truly outrun the shadows, or would they forever be the next hunters in a game far older than themselves? Mia's heart raced as she pushed forward into the dark woods, each crack of a branch beneath their feet echoing like thunder in her ears. Adrenaline surged, overriding her instincts to flee. They had escaped the cabin, but what lurked beyond the veil of trees felt far worse. "Did you hear that?" Danny's voice trembled, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting the shadows to emerge from behind the trunks. "It's just the wind," Mia said, though the quiver in her own voice betrayed her lack of conviction. The woods felt dense and alive, and every gust moved like an unseen predator. With each step, the growl grew louder, a guttural sound that resonated from somewhere deep within the forest. It was close, too close. They had to keep moving. But away from what? They'd already encountered horrors beyond their understanding. What more could the woods conceal? "Do you think we actually left it behind?" Alex asked, brushing back the sweat-soaked hair from his brow. "The shadows." Mia shot him a sharp look. "Don't say that. If we don't keep our minds clear." A roar split the air, resonating through the trees, shaking the ground beneath them. "What was that?" Danny shrieked, panic gripping him tight. "Run!" Mia shouted, propelled by a sudden burst of terror. They surged through the underbrush, branches snatching at their clothes, thorns biting into their skin. The growling morphed into a low, rhythmic thumping, like a heart beating steadily, cruelly synced to their footsteps. They stumbled into a clearing, breathless and wide-eyed, but the relief was short-lived. The shadows shifted around them, coalescing and warping, forming the semblance of figures pressing closer, intent on reclaiming their prey. "Over there!" Alex shouted, pointing to a gnarled tree with split bark that spiraled into the sky. Its twisted limbs reached out like ancient fingers, beckoning them closer. "We can hide." With no time to waste, they ran for the tree and ducked behind its colossal trunk. The growls and thuds faded momentarily, but the silence felt more menacing than the noise. They could almost hear the bass of their heartbeats sync with the strumming of something deeper within the forest. "What if it finds us?" Danny whispered, knees pulled to his chest. The fear in his eyes mirrored their own. Mia watched shadows flickering at their edges, barely breathing. "We have to think. There's got to be a way out of this, some reason we're here." Suddenly, the lantern she had clutched flickered violently in her grasp. The light pulsed once, then went completely dark. A cold gust swept through the clearing, wrapping around them in an icy embrace. "Great! The one thing that kept us safe just died," Alex muttered, dread settling like a weight in his gut. "Maybe it's gone," Danny offered weakly, though surely, they all felt a growing dread. Maybe it just led us away." Before Mia could respond, the ground trembled, a rhythm so persistent, they could no longer deny it wasn't just the throbbing of their hearts. It was approaching. It was closer. The shadows thickened, darkening the space where there had once been light. And just like that, from the gloom, an enormous figure emerged, a silhouette outlined by an aura of pure black. Fear gripped Mia as recognition dawned. "It's back," she whispered, dread lacing through her veins. Before she could formulate a plan, the figure lunged forward, a monstrous face twisting painfully as it revealed a jagged maw dripping with shadows. An electric shock coursed through Mia, freezing her in place as the entity turned its gaze upon them. "Join us," it rasped, every syllable drawing them in like moths to a flame. In that moment, Mia felt her spirit waver, and deep down, she knew they were facing something that transcended even the shadows they had fled. How could they fight something that lived in the very essence of darkness? "Mia!" Alex's voice broke through her stupor, dragging her back from the edge. "What do we do?" The forest was closing in, a tightening noose around their throats. No escape in sight. Now more than ever, the thought clawed at her, what did it mean to truly join the shadows? A lifetime in darkness, or just a heartbeat away from freedom? "Run!" she screamed, the finality of her voice ripping them from the moment. But as they turned to bolt, she couldn't shake the feeling, did they even know what they were running towards, or merely prolonging the inevitable, and in the depths of her soul, she wondered what if joining them was the only way to survive. They sprinted, hearts pounding like drums, breaths coming in frantic gasps as each step felt like a challenge against the grip of shadows that reached for them. Mia led the charge, though she could barely see where she was going. The thick darkness pressed in from all sides, and the aura of the looming beast loomed over their every move. "Left!" Alex shouted suddenly, yanking Mia by the arm as they dodged through a dense patch of underbrush. The air crackled with tension. Each heartbeat resonated with the growing beats of something monstrous behind them. They stumbled into another clearing, this one smaller and eerily quiet. Nightmarish shapes lurked at its edges, whispering in tones that seemed to pulsate with energy. The range of shadows coiled and shifted like living smoke, blocking any view of the forest beyond. Mia could feel the weight of dread compressing around them. "What do we do now?" she panted, urgency layering her voice. "Over there!" Danny yelled, pointing to a cluster of jagged rocks, a natural barricade. "We might be able to climb to safety." "Okay. Move!" Mia urged, glancing back. The monstrous silhouette was closer, its form wrapping into the shadows as if it fed off the fear infusing the air. They surged toward the rocks, boots slipping against the damp earth, clambering desperately for the safety they desperately craved. When they reached the rocky outcrop, they scrambled up one by one, hands gripping rough surfaces, knees scraping against jagged edges. Mia hoisted herself up last, heart racing, fully expecting to see the beast lunging after them. But the clearing was empty. "Did we lose it?" Alex whimpered, breathing heavily, eyes darting around. They all leaned back against the rocks, where the shadows couldn't quite reach. "Maybe," Mia said, though doubt loomed larger than a mountain. "But we need a plan. We can't hide forever. Why are we even in this place?" Danny whispered, eyes wide with terror. "What is it wanting from us?" "It offered us salvation," Mia replied, voice trembling. "But what kind of salvation is that? What kind of thing asks you to join it?" The unspoken reality hung in the air, and she could feel it, a pulse of presence beyond the rocks, something watching. A silence so thick it pressed down on her until it felt stifling. Suddenly, flashes of light pierced through the trees, a flickering like fireflies weaving and swirling. It scattered shadow but didn't dispel the darkness entirely. All four of them gaped, eyes glued to the sight. "Do you see that?" Alex pointed. The erratic lights danced toward them in a mesmerizing but ominous pattern. Danny stepped closer, edging toward the light as if entranced. "What if it's a way out?" "No!" she shouted, fear igniting within her. "We can't separate. It could be a trap." Still, the light drew him, pulling him in like a moth. "We need to." With a sudden pulse, the ground shook beneath their feet, and an echoing roar erupted from behind. The figure materialized again, this time larger, more menacing, shadows coiling around it like a living armor. "Join us," it hissed, its voice dripping with bitter sweetness that clawed at her sanity. Mia felt an overwhelming sense of helplessness wash over her. "Run!" she cried again, but doubt clawed at her insides. The lights were flickering still, and Danny stood almost entranced on the edge of the clearing. "Danny, come on. Alex shouted. We can't lose you too. But as the entity surged forward, shadows trailing like tendrils, Mia's mind raced. Could they find something in that light? What if it held the key to escape? With movement barely hers to command, she made the decision before the voice of shadows had a chance to invade their minds. We have to risk it. We follow the light. Just then, Danny broke free from the spellbinding allure and bolted back to her side, but now they were all torn. Shadow and light clashed in a battle of wills, as the creature lunged once again, its breath a seething tempest. Mia stood at the precipice of choice, the decision pregnant with consequence. Go! She yelled, and they charged toward the light with dread. Chasing behind them. As they hurled through the brightness, an eerie silence swallowed them whole, leaving the chilling question in Mia's heart: had they escaped the darkness, or were they merely stepping deeper into another nightmare? The world dissolved into a brilliant white flash, overwhelming their senses. Mia felt weightless, on the verge of either freedom or disaster. Time itself became slippery as they tumbled through, an abyss between light and darkness. But just as suddenly, they landed. The ground was solid beneath their feet. It felt real. Mia blinked, adjusting her eyes to the shifting reality around them. They stood at the edge of another forest, but this one was vibrant, not a shadow in sight. Sunlight streamed through the trees, painting the ground in warm golden patches. Is this real? Danny whispered, his voice quivering but full of wonder. I think so, Alex murmured, glancing at the sky, where fluffy white clouds floated harmlessly. The air was fresh and uplifting. Fear dripped away, replaced by a flickering hope that maybe, just maybe, they had escaped, but in the back of Mia's mind, a warning echoed. Shadows never truly vanished. As they cautiously stepped forward, a rustle caught their attention in the nearby bushes. Eyes darted to the sound, but a sweet melody rose like music from the leaves, like laughter untainted by darkness. Then, out of the greenery, a small figure stepped out, a girl with golden hair and a floating white dress, sunlight haloing around her. Her innocent smile was disarming. Mia's heart jumped. Are we safe now? Join the play, the girl sang, her voice like music weaving through the trees. Mia hesitated. There was something in the girl's eyes, something almost too knowing. A flicker, a shadow passing too quickly to grasp. She exchanged a worried look with Danny and Alex. This felt too good, too serene. What's your name? Mia asked carefully. Ava. The girl twirled, her hair dancing like rays of sun. You're free. Come play. Mia felt a tightness in her chest, a sneaking fear creeping back in. We have to keep moving, but don't you want to be happy? Ava giggled, a childlike chuckle that echoed warmly yet carried a weight. With each laugh, Mia felt her resolve slip a little further away. We've been through a lot, she began, but Danny stepped forward, drawn by the girl's charm. I think I want to stay here. His voice trembled with uncertainty. There's no more fear, no. Alex blurted, grabbing Danny's arm. Don't fall for it. But Mia felt it too, a yearning pull to abandon everything that had come before. A wild idea, whispered by the shadows, danced in her mind. What if they could hide here forever? Never face the dark again? Danny, fight it. Mia pleaded, hoping to reach him. He blinked, eyes darting, confusion washing over his face. Ava, he whispered, lost in her enchantment. In an instant, the atmosphere shifted. The woods darkened as the wind picked up, and suddenly the sunniest day felt heavy, thick with foreboding. Join us, echoed the shadows, and a chill washed over them. Mia grasped Danny's arm harder, feeling the grip of panic return. We need to go. We can't let her take you. She shot forward, determination coursing through her. Ava's smile faltered, and darkness slithered around her feet, creeping closer, morphing into the familiar fear they thought they'd escaped. Mia's heart raced. Run! She shouted, dragging Danny by the arm with Alex at her side. This time, they couldn't hesitate, the woods surged around them, familiar silhouettes rising again, each flicker and shadow threatening to pull them back into despair. But they forced themselves onward, deeper into the new forest, resisting everything that tried to grip them. They would break free or drown fighting one last surge against the darkness. They ran. With every pounding footstep, they made their way deeper into the woods, the light and laughter chasing them away. They wouldn't make the same mistake again. Over there. Alex shouted, pointing to a bright clearing ahead. Focused, they pushed toward it, eyes fixed on the warmth beckoning them out of the dark menace. As they burst into the clearing, sunlight enveloped them. It felt right, it felt alive. The shadows hung like whispers on its edge. They huddled together, panting, adrenaline coursing. Did we make it? Danny asked breathlessly, eyes darting back. The trees shifted, shadows lingered, but they felt stronger now, together. Together, they could withstand the weight of darkness. Mia turned to them, her voice firm but soft. We can't ever forget what we faced, what we almost gave up. It's part of us now. With that, they stepped forward, united against the lurking shadows. Behind them, the girl twisted into the dark, her innocent laughter morphing into sinister echoes. We're not joining you. They called together, their voices rising with strength, determined not to let the shadows claim them ever again. They pressed on, leaving the whispers, the shadows, the nightmares behind. Together, they faced the day, a bond formed in fear turned to courage. The forest loomed large and threatening, but it was just a place. A challenge they would meet head-on, no matter what lay ahead. And so, hand in hand, they ventured into the light of the unknown, walking toward a brighter future, lighting the path behind them until the last flicker of darkness faded away. It was over, but the memories would remain, shaping them forever courageous, forever united. And as they shared a smile, the shadows lost their hold for now. That if you found yourself gripped by this story, you need to subscribe now. You don't want to miss the next terrifying tale that's waiting just around the corner. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others find these chilling narratives. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about Mia and her friends. What do you think lies ahead for them? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this saga unfolds. Your support means everything.